Hello, Sandra. How are you?
Hi, Jim. Well, I feel very grateful to be here and thank you for making the time to have this opportunity. It's a real privilege for me, I have to say.
No, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it. And I'm excited about this one because we're going to touch on sort of emotions and how you sort of cope and really what self-care truly means. It's not necessarily just a bubble bath or a spa day. So I really want to get into that. So why don't you start by just telling us a bit about yourself and your sort of journey?
Okay, well, I was been a nurse all my life, 40 years as a registered nurse, and I was smoking, drinking at times, overweight, stressed, three kids, age 4 and under. And my marriage was okay, but there were times when it was really not okay because I wasn't honest about what was going on for me. And I think I had a bit of an aha moment. I was about 36 and my mum took me to a health spa called Champneys. Funnily enough, I've been working there as a guest speaker for 10 years and just doing the odd talks there. Anyway, I went there and I just realised I can't carry on like this. You know, everybody, if I'd have had three girls, if only my husband would do that, and if only this, and I hadn't really looked at, well, what part do I play in that, and I was obviously enabling. I was a bit of a martyr, maybe. I wanted everything perfect. I didn't, why bother asking when you can do it yourself quicker? That sort of attitude. So I saw a life coach when I was 36, and basically my life changed profoundly, not overnight. I mean, I was doing the smoking cessation clinic and then talking to people about smoking, then going and having a fag and then giving them a diet sheet and going and having a bar of chocolate. So, I was a bit of a, I don't like to be disrespectful to myself, but I guess I was a bit of a hypocrite, really. Saw this guy and then thought, wow, how powerful is coaching? Life changing stuff. So I retrained and I've been a life coach now for 18 years, carried on nursing for years. And then I got so excited about all the changes I'd made because none of them are rocket science, Jim. It's all pretty easy stuff. I don't have, ologies in lots of things, but I do have a lot of experience in life. And then I wrote a book about it, which I published myself called Know the Truth, which is all about self-care. And then I guess the journey was starting slow baby steps of taking care of myself better. Like you said, it's not just a bubble bath. And
Yeah,
now I'm a
what does
beautiful
that look
body.
like?
Yeah, well, I'm in a lovely, healthy sized body now. I feel really congruent today. I'm 65 now. I was 36 when my journey started, and it could have started a bit earlier. But I mean, as you know, my husband died 5.5 months ago of a brain tumor, and we had the most amazing marriage in the end. In fact, I was writing a book about that. I'm halfway through this book, and then it was quite sudden and well, it's a 5 month period of him from diagnosis to death. And I thought I need to get out there even more now,
Hmm.
and for me, the question you asked me was, what does that look like? Well, I really feel that radical self-care is about a whole lot more than just the going shopping or things like that, the niceties. Radical self-care for me is learning to say no when I'm overloaded with stuff. Radical self-care is obviously the obvious of going to bed at good times and getting plenty of rest and drinking plenty of water, but also about speaking my truth. I think I said to you, I went to my son's the other day and just burst into tears. And that's okay. I think it's about speaking my truth, having good boundaries, respecting myself in my decisions that I make. So it's a whole plethora of things. Obviously, the basics I take care of now, yoga and meditate and things like that.
Mm.
So yeah, and make time for
And do
have
you,
fun.
yeah, 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 definitely. Do you find that now that you've sort of gone through this journey, that you're able to understand what your emotions mean? Because I talk about this a lot about understanding what these feelings are for you in order for you to address them properly. Have you found that you've had to do a lot of that?
Oodles. I mean, I'm in a 12-step recovery program that is for addiction, and you have to look at yourself a lot. And I used cigarettes, smoking, drinking, going to nightclubs or whatever I was up to mask the feeling of actually, I'm really lonely. I'm really disappointed. I'm really quite angry. I'm actually really overwhelmed. I didn't identify with those feelings, so I used these other things and then never really sat with the feelings. So now I sit with them, however agonizing they might be, because they pass.
Hmm.
Everything passes. And you feel so much better when you felt a feeling. I feel so much better, and I think generally people do. How many? I mean, my mum's from Vienna, and even as a small child, she used to say, "A problem shared is a problem halved." You know, in I can't remember if she said it in German, but and it's about communicating what's going on with me. I need to do that
Mm.
close or to myself. I have to recognize it myself first before I tell you.
Yeah, completely agree. And why do you think, so you were saying that you sort of saw a life coach at 36, but actually there was issues for years and years before that. And I think that is often the case. We don't actually seek help until we are so far down that rabbit hole. Why did you neglect self-care before that?
Shame. I think part of it was no, sorry, that question, actually, the answer to that is I didn't feel deserving enough. You know, I'd give for everybody else. I mean, obviously, nursing is an interesting profession to be in, isn't it? When you're giving to everybody else, I don't think I felt I deserved it. I thought it's egotistical. You know, when you people, my son is a professional kite surfer, and he was in a coma in South Africa, and they were interviewing him on the television, and he said, "Well, my mum puts herself before everyone." God, what does that sound like? Sounds like, yes, it's all about me. And that's not the truth. If you're on an aeroplane, the first oxygen mask they say to put in isn't everyone else, it's yourself.
Hmm. Yeah, if you're not looking after yourself, you're no good to anyone.
But I think historically, women, particularly, I think, are trained to put everybody first, your husband, your children. By the time you get to you, you're so exhausted, or I
Yeah.
was, that I was like, oh, I can't be bothered. Why bother? And then I'd repeat the same. So I think a lot of it was I didn't feel deserving. It's not really very taught for, I think, young people to put themselves first. I think if
Hmm.
we did it in a different way where there's not about ego. You know, I remember my kids used to say to me, there was an expression in our house, the three little boys, it was, I want, I want gets nothing, you know, and of course, don't know that that's very kind either. It's all
Yeah.
in proportion and in balance. That's, you know, I've created a tool about balance. How do you create balance out of disharmony?
Yeah. And actually, there's a bit of irony in there, isn't there? Because actually, when you spend the time not putting yourself first, there's lots of issues. You were saying, your marriage wasn't the strongest that it could have been. You might have struggled with how you were raising the children, but actually, then when you started to put yourself first, you became better in all other aspects.
Yeah, that was what I was going to lead on to. I always say to people, if you had to go to a brain surgeon, Jim, two brain surgeons, you can go to one or the other. One of them's got all the knowledge and brilliant, and so is the other one. But one of them just had a row with his wife this morning. He hasn't had his porridge for breakfast. He's not brilliant with his staff. He gets irritable and stressed a lot, charges through life. Or the next one who's done his meditation and had his porridge and he's got a lot of stress, but he manages better. I know which one I'm going to.
Yeah.
So it's all right for everybody else. I mean, when I say to my clients, what would you say to me if I just lost my husband and I'm stressed and I burst into tears on my son? They say, well, obviously that's what you've got to do. You've got to look after yourself. So I say, and what about giving that back to yourself? Oh, yeah,
Mm.
well, you know, my husband's more important. I'm too busy or whatever, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. So what do you find is your sort of job as a life coach? Do you have clients for life or do you just help them through difficult periods? What's your sort of methodology?
Well, I normally do 3 sessions with people because I think, you don't know what you're going to get. So you don't want to be tied into, oh, you've got 18 months now, Jim. You might not even like me. Let's have a chat to start with and see if it's because some people might need counselling. Coaching's about
Mhm.
moving forward. Coaching's about this is what's happened. I need to move forward, not about the actual story. Some of it comes into it, but counselling tends to be about. I just coached a young lad who actually really needs counselling. We just had a chat, and then I said, I think you need counselling. So I do one-to-one 3 sessions with people over 6 weeks, and we use this health fountain tool that I told you about. Trying to see if I've got one thing to show you. It's in the book that I've written, and it's not rocket science. You just put scores of 0 to 10 in each area and see if it's balanced. Oh, I don't know if you can see that very well at all.
Yeah, health
Yeah, it's a
fountain.
bit like a life wheel that was created. It wasn't, and it's something I've adapted. And I do 3 sessions. If people want more, I have coached people for longer. I go into companies and talk about stress and resilience. I've been on cruise ships as a guest speaker. I've done 6 cruises as a guest speaker. I'm going into the gym actually and doing some talk to their members. That looks like an ongoing thing.
Mm.
So it's very varied. My favourite really is the one-to-ones because, when I had a coffee with one woman, I hadn't even started. Before we started, she said, "Oh, you've changed my life." I said, "We've only had a coffee. What was?" But because I reflect,
Sometimes it's just taking that step, isn't
I
it? Taking
know.
that first initial step to actually reach out
Yeah, all
is the
she
start
actually
of
didn't even have
change.
to pay for the coaching in the end. I mean, she did because she had the sessions, but she needed to drop off a day a week from work. She's so much work she didn't know what to do with. So all I said to her, instead of "you should take an extra day off, it's not good for you," I said, "What will that look like in a year if you carry on like that?" She
Yeah.
went, "Burnt out." I said, "Is that okay?" She went, "No." She said,
Mm,
"What choices have you got?" "Well, on Friday I'm having the day off," and I see her at the yoga class, and it brings tears to my eyes. That was without
mm,
even a coaching session. So,
yeah.
yeah,
So who would benefit from seeing a life coach? Anyone?
anyone who's ready to do actions and make changes, of course, there's lots of people. I have so many people. My brother could do with it. My husband, my mum. You've got to want to make changes. But also, I think if you're loving and kind to yourself and compassionate and respectful, which I will be, some
Yeah.
people say, "I need a kick up the arse." I said, "Really? Would you say that to me?" No, It's okay. So I think it's loving and kind and what we need. We're hard enough on ourselves. You don't need me to come in and give you a load
We
of crap.
are. Yeah, we are so hard on ourselves. And I think as well, when you're talking about sort of the coaching that you do, it's all about personal and how you conduct yourself. That also does help in your professional life as well. You're a more rounded person, you make better decisions, all of that kind of thing. Do you see that?
You make a great coach, Jim. And it sounds like you've got it all together. I wish I was your age and had got it all together. Not that I got it all together, but to wait to 65, and then my poor little man, who I've been with since I was 18, is not even here with me. Anyway,
Yeah, yeah. So what advice would you give someone who's feeling a little bit stuck and a little bit in their ways?
oh dear, sorry, I had a moment. Actually, I don't need to say sorry. I had a moment because I obviously thought
Oh,
about what would I say to someone? I would say be compassionate and loving to yourself and start with one small, tiny action. Lots of people get overwhelmed because they think, right, I've got to do that, do this, do that, and then they procrastinate because it's too much. I didn't start with 4 yoga classes a week, meditate every morning for half an hour. I've only just started doing a little bit of weights, only 10 minutes 3 times a day. I didn't start with that. I didn't start with all the lovely things that I have in my life. I started with one small baby action and then I built on it. So I think be ready to do some actions and find a coach that you really, really connect with. Because my coach is 89 and he can't really talk very well now. And he was amazing. And I still see him to this day, a beautiful man. And I loved him as a human being.
yeah.
So find someone you really connect with and yeah, and also someone who's accredited. It cost me a lot of money, ruddy accreditation, Gem, honestly. You can do a weekend life coaching course, but I thought, no, I'll pay. So I'm jumping through all these hoops and having recordings and having and that analysed. The biggest gift I give my clients, I look after me. So when you get me, I'm on top form. I won't coach you at 9 o'clock at night. I don't care what you offer me. I'm no good at 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
Do you know, I can coach you at 5 in the morning. I like five. That's a
Same.
lot. I
Yeah,
know.
same. I'm no good to anyone in the evenings. I'm so tired.
And on a Monday, I go to cinema. So this is a little tip I'd like to give anyone who's listening to this. If you're one of those that's a people pleaser, which I used to be, oh yeah, say yes to everybody and then be full of resentment and frustration because they don't understand you. What I say to people now, say you said to me, Sandra, can we have a coaching session on Monday morning, lunchtime? So I'm really sorry, I have another commitment. And then my kids say, why do you say that, Mum? You're only going to cinema. I said, because my
That's still a
commitment is as equal to myself, if not more important than you. Because if I see you in the afternoon when I've been to the cinema, I'm in such a happier place.
yeah,
It's about
yeah.
taking control back where I can. And that's what my work does with people.
Yeah.
Where can
Why the
I?
cinema? Why is that your thing?
I just like, well, I want to be on, I want a television. I want a film made about me. That sounds really egotistical, doesn't it?
No, I
Not so
love
much
that.
about me. In fact, I'm on Brighton latest television doing a little talk, funny enough. Not so much about me, because I'm just a humble, everyday person, Jim, who's done some bad stuff maybe in my life. I want it to be more about if I can move forward, then anyone can. You know, I was expelled from school. I've got dyslexia. You know, the package wasn't looking good for me. So, yeah, I just love it. I just think there's something really bizarre about on a Monday when everyone's going to work. Not everyone, lots of people are going to full-time jobs and they're maybe moaning Monday, Monday. I'm like, I love Mondays because I go to the cinema. I get on my bicycle and I cycle down the town. And I've seen, and they say, oh, it's a Disney film. Oh, Sandra, oh, not they don't know me that well, but they say, oh, hello. How many tickets? And I say, just one,
Mm.
because I don't care.
Yeah, I love that. I absolutely love that. I think that's brilliant. And I think what's coming across from you, Sandra, is you you are your authentic self. So a lot of us will go to our jobs and we have sort of a professional persona, and then we come home and we have our personal persona, and we sometimes can sort of mask who we truly are. But actually, you really do bring all of your experiences and all of your past trauma and everything you've been through into your coaching. And it just comes across as so genuine. Is
Thank
that
you. Well, I think
intentional?
that's what it's about, really, isn't it? We just need to. I'm never going to be a pear. I can try, so I just need to be an apple or whatever I am. You know, I'm not. You know, if you ask me to read something, if you said to me, right, read something now, I have never had a stutter in my life. If I just start reading something, I don't like it. It makes me anxious, so I don't do it. You know, I
Yeah.
got a PA who comes and does that stuff because it's not my. I'm not good at that. I'm
Yeah.
good
So you
at everything.
recognize your strengths and your weaknesses.
Exactly. Just be nice to yourself. Treat yourself like you treat, if you've got children, I say, how would you treat your child? Just look after yourself, have fun, go and enjoy yourself. Don't stress so much. Doesn't matter that I'm doing everything the opposite to that, but I don't want you. You know, my kids are most amazing men, and I didn't get it right the first half so well. And then when my son said to me, Mum, I'm going to yoga, he said, and he eats really clean and he looks after himself. He said, why doesn't everyone communicate their emotions and feelings? He said, like we do. One of my sons, not all of them.
Yeah.
One. I said, well, that's the golden question, Elliot. Isn't it lovely when you can? I want to be a role model for him. I don't want, you know, another thing I said, can you imagine saying this? Don't do as I do as I tell you. Oh, that's
Mm-hmm.
awful. That's really not good, is it? Whereas
Yeah.
now, little kids are like little sponges. Whatever you do, they will do. They see you biting your nails and anxious and smoking and shouting at people. Guess what they're going to do? It's not personal. They just do that.
Yeah. And actually, I really like what you said there because you're showing, even as the parent, that we don't always get it right. And I think the worst
No,
thing that we can do is to never apologize to our kids because I don't think that teaches them how to behave as an adult. You know, that parents are always right. We do get it wrong. And the fact that you are sitting here saying, yeah, first half not so great, turned it around, that
oh,
speaks
brilliant.
volumes.
I know my middle son, this kite surfing guy, and me used to have some challenges when he was a teenager. And I remember in this recovery program, you have to make amends to people. I sat all my boys down at different times. So I'm really sorry that I did this. They weren't beaten and abused, but I was quite strict. And the middle one said, yeah, you were awful. I said, oh God, what did you do with that? I mean, he was only about 19. And now all he tells us, you were amazing, you know, you and Dad were brilliant. And yeah, of course you were a bit stressed and da-di-da, but you know, we had a really lovely childhood. And, you know, kids say things. One of my friends said, oh my God, my child said they hate me. Is it because they're adopted? I said, my kids all said they did hated me at one time in their life. I said, they're all mine. So, you know,
Yeah.
kids have stuff, don't they? We just have to be loving and kind to them and listen to them and hear them, whatever their fears, doubts, and insecurities are. That's all we all want, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think that's wonderful. And the relationship you have with your boys now sounds amazing.
Well, I tell you, the other day, I mean, I said to him, I mean, I do like to inject humour because the only reason you keep getting me burst into tears on is because you live the nearest. One of them's 20 minutes away, one's 15, and you're only 5 minutes away. And I'm doing my best, but I want to leave a legacy. I want Gary's death to be not for no reason. I want something wonderful to come out of it, even if it's like, you can get through stuff, but you have to be a bit courageous sometimes, and that's not always easy. If I can make a difference to
Um,
another human being, then that'll do for me.
yeah. And how have you navigated that? Because 5 months is not a long time at all. So how have you sort of coped with the process? Is it by talking it through? What's been your...
Well, lots of things. I think being in a 12-step program is always someone you can call. Not using, smoking, drinking, eating, binging. And also, I can go the other way. I don't want to eat. When
Right.
Gary was dying, he died at home with all the boys there. It was very beautiful. On Boxing Day, on my mum's 91st birthday. Anyway, when we were all there together, do you think I wanted to eat my lunch, Jim? Not.
Mm,
And my boys said, Mum, go and have your lunch. You have to look after your well-being. So I sat in the same room and I had my lunch. So I also am having art therapy. I mean, that's so lovely. This guy sits across the table while I'm making a tree. And
yeah.
I won't go into the detail why I'm making a tree, but it's to do with me and Gary. He used to walk in the park. And I'm bursting out crying. There's mascara everywhere. And he's sitting across the table. And then I'm all right again. So I'm having art therapy. I've had counselling. I talk to my kids, and my grandchildren are amazing. I try and do a lot of gratitudes, Jim. I've got
Yeah.
no mortgage. I've got a beautiful house. I'm very blessed. So
Hmm.
I have to swing that as well. Except
Yeah.
sometimes when life sucks, it's all horrible and I want to hang myself. And I have to feel that feeling too.
Yeah. And that goes back to the conversation we were having earlier about how in tune you are with how you're feeling. And you sort of let those feelings come out so that you can process it. You're not trying to stifle it at any point.
Yeah. I remember going out with my husband for a bike ride. I used to love going for a bike ride. We got so into each other. We were like, we were dating in the end. Our relationship was so amazing. And he just retired and he was playing golf 4 times. We were biking into town. All of a sudden I thought, I don't like you, meaning him. And I thought, what's that about? I thought, I don't like you. You're not good enough. You're not romantic enough. You're not handsome enough. And I could feel all these feelings. And then
Right.
and then I just thought, oh, everyone's annoying me. And I don't know, I just felt. And then he turned around and he said, you're right. I said, you know what? I feel really grumpy. I feel like I don't like you. I feel like I don't like anyone. I don't know what's the matter with me. He said, oh, well, not to worry. He said, you'll feel better in a minute. And then I've called that a gloomy, doomy moment, not even a day.
Yes.
It didn't last all
Yeah.
day. And I was just curious about it. I wonder why you're so miserable and moody. I don't even have periods anymore. So it wasn't anything to do with that. And I just felt like that. And it was okay.
Yeah.
And then he
Mm.
laughed. And I said, I'm really sorry. He said, it's all right. I said, I wouldn't want to be around me. I don't think I'm very good company. He said, you're lovely. Feel your feeling. He said, and we carried on biking. And the next minute it was all right.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, that probably diffused the situation, the fact that you recognized it and spoke about it.
Dude, you're so clever, Jim. Gosh, it's incredible to hear a woman speak like you do. I just didn't have any insight into it. And now it's so much easier than I thought it was. It's all
Yeah.
right to say, do you know, I'm really scared. I feel really vulnerable. I'm really worried. You know, I think, oh my
Yeah.
God, am I going to be on my own for the rest of my life? And I'm like, well, just for today, you've got a game plan for today. To think about the rest of your life when you're 65. I mean, I'm not dying till I'm over 100. That's quite a long time left still. How
That's a
about
lot
just,
of films to watch in the cinema.
I know. The problem was Gary said, should we go to the cinema? I said, I've seen it, seen it, seen it, seen it, seen it.
Yeah.
He started coming on a Monday. So he came with
Oh,
me in the end. Unless it was a Disney. He said, I'm not doing Disney. You can go on your own for that.
love that. So what happened in COVID if you've been doing this tradition when nothing was on?
Do you know what? It's funny, isn't it? I can't. Well, I actually worked at the hospital. I was taking blood because although I was a nurse,
Yeah.
I did this job that for terrible money. It was like the worst money in the blood. I was a phlebotomist because I love people. So What did I do? I just think I went out on my bike a lot. Well, you
Yeah,
could actually go to
pressure.
cinema. That's not true, but 20 people apart from someone else. So you could actually go. So they'd have a
Oh,
cinema with
wow.
500 people supposedly, and there were 10 something.
Yeah.
So you could go, but it was all a bit.
Wow.
So yeah.
Oh, okay. So what sort of one sort of mindset shift that will help people stay committed? Because we all go through these periods where we feel like, yeah, we can transform our lives and we can move on and we can do these coping mechanisms, but it's hard to sustain that mindset, isn't it? So what advice would you give people?
Oh, it's a fantastic question, isn't it? I mean, how much do I want the benefits, I guess, rather than beat myself up? I mean, my granddaughter stayed overnight. They're lovely having girls when you've had all boys. She said, Nonna, why did God make the world? It's only five. I said, I don't know, maybe to make you help other people and be happy. Anyway, I said to her, I want you to sit here now. I'm going out in the garden. So I went out there. I've got no clothes on. I've got a little towel around me. She said, what are you doing? I said, I'm going in my cold pod. So it's like a cold pod that you just get immersed in
Yeah,
stuff. And I do it every day. Every day, my brain says, no, don't go in it. Not today. I think you just have to overcome that stuff. I'm in
brilliant.
charge of what goes on in there, not the other way around. So I really feel, I say, no, I want to do this. I want the benefits. I'm in better shape, Gem, honestly. Figure wise, my body's in great shape. I look well than I've ever been. And I want that. I want my mental health can go down the toilet sometimes. And if I do these actions, I can avoid the worst stuff. I'm never going to avoid that, tsunami of, well, like volcanic eruption of emotion the other day, because that's,
Yeah, grief.
and you don't have to have someone die to have that. You could have anything go on in your life, couldn't you? Lost your job or one of your kids you're worried about, or so yeah, I think it's important to me. So I do a to-do list every week for the last 18 years. Look,
Oh,
can you see
wow.
that
Oh
for the
my
week?
gosh.
No, that's the week's one. And then
That's
I write it
amazing.
out into my little book and I tick it off. And
Yeah.
there's some things don't get done and other, but the self-care stuff is done. That's the most important, and everything else gets fitted in.
Yeah. Now, when we first met, you had an amazing bag with you, and there
That's
is a
it. I've got
story behind that bag. I can see it on your shelf. It looks like an antique clock.
a clock handbag. Well,
Yeah.
when I first came into networking and people said, you've got to have something people remember you by. If there's 40 people stand up and say, oh, I do this, I'm a hairdresser, I'm a this, who's going to remember you? Well, obviously, if you're a hairdresser, you could have a giant size comb or whatever. So I got a strawberry handbag the first time because I thought, oh, yeah, that's a good idea. Let's get a strawberry handbag. It's a bit because health isn't just about diet and exercise. I don't like those words, actually. I like movement and nutrition and much nicer.
Yes.
Let's, you know, um, give ourselves good nutrition and let's move our bodies. So when I went to these networking meetings, it was a bit boring because you can eat yogurt and exercise, but you might hate your husband. You might hate your job. You might hate where you live. All those things affect your health. So I don't know what it came to me in a blind flash, and I thought, I know, clock handbag. People look at me because it's everyone. Most women are drawn to it because it's it works and blah blah blah. Make time for your health. If you don't make time, where is it? I have to go there. If you don't make
Yep.
time for your health, you'll have to make time for your illness. It's quite harsh, isn't it? And it's like, whoa, now I'm gonna keep going and I'm gonna burn myself out and then bang. So yeah, so it's just fun. I've had 4 different ones. I don't know if you can see the one on here was massive. It was ridiculous. And I broke it once in a coffee shop. It fell on the floor and it smashed. I think someone thought someone had been shot. It was really funny. I was like, oh
Mm.
God. So that one had to go. And I've had a black one of those, and I've had an embroidered one where it had the embroidery on the face. But that's my one. I don't even like handbags. People think I'm a handbag person. I'm a backpack person. I don't like handbags. Don't possess a handbag in the world except that one. And when I go to weddings and funerals, my husband used to say, please don't take the bag. Because it almost upstages things like a wedding if you wore a white wedding dress. So people
Yeah.
come to me, he goes, not
I
there.
mean, it's a great marketing tool because it gets people to recognize you and they come and ask you about it. But actually, the message behind it is so much more important. And I absolutely love that. If you don't make time for yourselves,
Yeah.
yeah.
The only thing I do struggle about is I was out the other day somewhere with it, and some woman come up to me. She said, "Can I have a photograph?" So I sort of thought, oh. So I was all like this. She said, "No, no, not you, the bag."
Yeah.
So I just stuck it in front of her and said, "Okay."
Oh my gosh, I love that. Right, what's your one last piece of advice to our listeners? Like, what's the first step that they can do to look after themselves?
Be loving and kind with what you want to do. Just find one little thing, one little tiny thing. One of my clients just wanted to go out into nature just for 10 minutes for a walk. So I said, "Well, what's stopping you?" "Well, there's this and this and this to do. And how might you feel if you do that one little thing?" And it might be just a bath. For some people, if you've overloaded with stuff, it might be just have some people don't even have a lunch break, Jim. That's another whole story. Oh no, I
Yeah,
work
that's
through
not,
my
it's not
lunch.
necessarily self-care, it's just basic human needs, right?
Well, what would you do? What would you say to your kids? "Oh no, you've got to stop and replenish." "Oh no, I just work straight through." And then wonder why they're irritable and discontent and shouting at someone at the end of the day.
Yeah,
I mean, I've
yeah,
built it to the nth degree. I must admit, it does sound a bit like it's all about me. But then my kids love it when I look after my grandchildren because I'm so present, Jim.
yes,
And when I'm
yeah,
done, I'm done,
yeah.
you know. And they go, "Please don't leave." No, and I said, "You need me to leave because if I don't, I'll be irritable. You want the best of me, and then you want me to go."
Yeah, and then replenish again.
Yeah, and it's hard sometimes, especially when they're gorgeous and they're only little and they're 3 and they've got lovely curly hair like you and they're all over me. But I need to
Oh,
go and have my meal and have my drink, and then I come back another day and then I'm present again.
yeah. That's why toddlers have to have naps, isn't it? Otherwise, they're irritable.
Well, we're only big toddlers, aren't we? Let's be honest. Just a big toddler.
I love that. Perfect. Thank you so much for coming on, Sandra. I really appreciate it. Good luck with your television appearance.
Thank you. I think it's a real privilege, and I just want to make a difference. If I can make a difference, then, and if I can do it, anyone can do it.
Oh, and I will link the books. It is available for anyone to purchase. That's right, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Perfect. I will link that in the bio. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was a pleasure to be here.